Welcome to another episode of The Nature of Healing. My name is Jen Shepherd. This is a program sponsored and produced by Bolts of Love. We are very, very happy today to be able to bring to you a conversation of inspiration with Christian Sundberg. Christian is the author of A Walk in the Physical, both the book and the blog. You'll be able to find many interviews with Christian on YouTube and also talks that he has done with us at Unity in Edinburgh. I've known Christian now for, we figured out, a little over a decade, which is quite mind-boggling to me. He is a beautiful, beautiful human with a beautiful awakening experience, and he has been able to use his awakening experience to share so much love and so much with other people, allowing them to feel their own divinity, their own worth, and shining his own light in the best way possible, and that is in sharing. So welcome. You will hear some voices from people that were able to join us live for the conversation, and you will hear a lot about Christian's philosophy and his move away from fear. So welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I see smiling faces. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Jen Shepherd at Unity in Edinburgh, and we're here today speaking with Christian Sundberg, and he does such a good job of introducing himself that I'm going to let him do that for a couple of moments. And then we'll start with our conversation.
Thank you, Jen. Before I introduce myself, I have to give a shout out to Jen because her selfless work in this area, which we live in a similar location in the country, really has helped the people in this area and helped me to move into this work. And I'm very grateful for Jen. She's very modest and doesn't lift herself up, but she's done a lot of amazing work around here. So thank you, Jen, very much.
Thank you, Christian.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. So, yeah, my name is Christian Sundberg. My body is 44 years old right now. And about 14 years ago, I went through an awakening process and I began to have out-of-body experiences and had pre-birth memory return to me. So I think that's what most people are interested in hearing about, though I don't think it's the most important thing to discuss. And that is I remember the incarnation process and what I'm doing here. And I'm just keenly aware that we are not just the human characters that we're playing. We really are multidimensional beings of love and joy and freedom. That is our true nature. And there is nothing to fear. That is the truth. So I'm very passionate about sharing that here within this context, the earthly context. And yeah, I'm happy to talk about anything we like to talk about.
So I would like to start now. I caught the year timeline you said. You said 14 years ago?
Yeah, about when I was at the age of 30 or so.
Okay, because
Yeah.
I only met you like 2 years after that then.
I know. I know. 2 years before you met me, I was pretty deep into my previous worldview and hadn't really awakened yet. I mean, it's just a word, awakened, but I hadn't started down that path. And then finding you and the Bolts of Love group that you founded locally was like the first group of people I found that are actually talking about these things. And then I didn't share it for 8 years, actually, my pre-birth experience and my out-of-body experiences, because I'm a working professional. It's the kind of thing you don't talk about. But I really appreciated the chance to speak that you and others locally gave. That was really like, oh my gosh, it just opened this door to something I'm really, really passionate about.
You
And
were
now,
talking about
yeah.
the power of not the power, I'm sorry, the theory of everything at that time.
Hmm.
That's what,
Yeah,
because
Tom Campbell's work. Yeah, the physicist and consciousness explorer. His work is the work that led me down the path to explore. And the most important thing he said was go meditate, go find out. And I did. And after a few months of meditation, I had my first non-physical experience that was super, super eye-opening, not subtle, like really, like ridiculously real. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is real. Like I have to keep going. That was probably close to the time, just before the time I found the Bolts of Love group locally. Yeah.
Yeah, and it wasn't too long after that before you were up in front of people and talking.
I feel deeply called to do so, and I'm honored to do so.
So so you went from, let's call it normal, whatever
Sure.
normal is, to reading, to meditating, to experiences, and then sharing your experiences. But I'd like to know, what kind of truth thread have you found in that? I mean, 14 years is an arc, right? It's not, oh, I started this and I read and now I know everything I know 14 years later. So
Yeah,
what's
what we're
your
talking about can't actually be read. So when we talk about a truth arc, sometimes people are talking about ideas and forms, and it's okay to work with ideas and forms. But our true nature transcends the entire world of form. Like we are non-dual, you could say, and all of the rest is arising within it. So the overarching thing that I feel that I could say has remained consistent is the knowing, the feeling, the connectedness to that higher nature. Like I'm human, like we all are here, we're having the human experience, but I know that we're not actually human. And that's a very joyful statement. So there's that like joy of what we really are that I'm really passionate about sharing in a way that's real, down to earth, because I'm like a normal person for whatever that word means. I'm a down to earth person, but this is real. Like we really do survive death. We really are multidimensional beings. There really are higher reality systems that are even more real than this reality. It's real. So I feel like the thing that remained consistent is that connectedness to that knowing of that.
so how does that realness transfer into sharing that in life?
Mhm.
Because, if we have that as our real and we're here
Mhm.
physical now, there's got to be a way to share that or express that with in everyday life. So how is that?
Yes, absolutely. Oh my gosh, yes. So the simple way to put that is love. I mean, I know that's such a cheesy like one word thing, but okay, so what we really are is consciousness or spirit itself. So what you are is you're you. Like the you that feels like you to you is who you are. And while we're human, we may think that that you means a body and a job and a name and all that. It actually doesn't. That's just a set of forms that we experience and then we make choices through. And so the key is, what is the quality of the intention that we are bringing into this context? And so the quality of the choices we're making. That's that's really like when we say what does that mean for us here? It means making choices that are based in love and service and compassion and kindness and creativity and joy and freedom, that in alignment with our true nature, rather than fear, which are choices that are aligned with the illusion of separation and the illusion of the small negative perceptions that we buy into here. So what I mean is like the world might make us think I'm powerless or I'm shameful, or I don't have capacity, I don't have whatever, some small negative self-perception that provokes fear in us. And then when fear is provoked, we immediately the ego comes to the rescue. Well, don't worry, you still have value because look, you can do this thing, or you can hurt this person, or you have money, or whatever, or whatever else. The ego has 1,000 tricks. They're all pretty empty and simple. But anyway, that's not full. It's an empty process. So what we're here like the way that we can then touch and actualize that true nature here is to make loving choices. And that's just such a simple way to put it, but love can mean so many things. It means so many shades of joy and service and freedom and creativity. All the ways that our true nature can really align here in the physical in an actualized way through choice making. That would be the way I would put that.
So what kind of healing process are you undergoing in order to make those loving decisions
Yeah.
without fear?
That's a good question. Yeah, so this is going to sound like again overly concise, but it really does boil down to this, the processing of fear, the integration of fear, which is synonymous with the non-rejection and the ownership of experience. So whatever arises, do I allow it? Do I accept it? Do I make an enemy of it? Do I tell a story about it, or do I just embrace and accept and allow? So for me, the reason I mentioned that first is because I knew pre-life that like the primary thing I was going to come here to do was to integrate and words are super lacking. I just have to say this before I mention any of this because like language just completely falls short. Like it's ridiculous how poor language is. So I'm not trying to be literal because it cannot be said. But I knew pre-life that I would have the opportunity to engage a very dense set of constraints that had the high probability of provoking a fear that had bested me in previous experiences. And I really wanted to process and integrate that fear. So that's what I'm doing. And it's really a deep fear. It's not easy. Like, like I experience certain limitations and sensitivities and health issues that are very unusual. And I just do, and that's okay. And so I seek to not reject those, to really actually feel everything that I feel, even though I'm very sensitive. So that, because as we do that, as we process the fear and stop rejecting, that becomes synonymous with the expansion of love, because love is our true nature. And it's like when we're not losing ourselves into that which we're not, the fear story and the ego story and the rejection, when we drop all that, that allows an expansion of love down into this place. I say down because it's not, there's no real direction. It's not really duality, but it's vibrationally, it's a much more dense vibration down into this place. And when we do that, that's beautiful. Like we help heal ourselves and we help heal the world. So it has to do with how we relate to the content that has arisen in our lives and what ownership we take for it and how much we choose to reject or accept it and how we choose to like even it's just like help the person next to us or be kind to them in whatever small way. Like if we just choose that, like that helps us grow. It helps us integrate this experience because they are us. Anyway, I went down a couple different paths there,
No,
but
I like that because I think sometimes I don't like how you connected it to each other there, we're actually moving each other into that space. I think
yes.
sometimes the fear is if we're healing, our perceptions start to change and the way we view the world starts to change. And oh my goodness, how did that happen?
Do you mean change in a negative way? Like,
No, I think the more, I think if we start on a path of love and healing and discovery,
mhm,
the perception widens or broadens or becomes higher. I don't know, direction is not a good thing
mhm,
with this, but you were able to encompass not only maybe a more narrow perception that you had
mhm.
before of life, but also encompass, can you get to embrace what you're recognizing now? Because it's almost like moving your house. It's so stressful. You have to learn all the new things and all the new places and all the new geography and all the where to go to the grocery
Can
store.
I make a comment about that, please? So just two things before we talk about moving the house. So okay, there's a spiritual teacher that I appreciate very much named Emerald Sage on TikTok. I don't watch her that often, but man, she said some amazing things. And one of them was that spiritual growth is not about just picking the high vibration and like really trying to hone in on that and ignoring everything else and running away from everything else. No, it's about an acceptance of all frequencies
There it is. Yeah.
such that your bandwidth, your ability to know all the frequencies expands. So by accepting all the frequencies that are here now, you actually expand your capacity for all frequencies. You see? So like I'm just pointing that out because it's not like we might think, oh, this is destructive. Well, facing your own fear is painful. It can be painful. But the thing is, what's even more painful is not facing your fear. Like in the long run. Like life is the nature of the substance of life is joy. And where we've made it not joy, that's okay. Like, how can we then own that and actually say yes to life? Like, basically, reality is not our enemy. And
Well,
so when we realize that, then we have to take ownership and actually like feel all of our crap and own all of our crap and accept our place in the world and how we feel and feel everything. Like it's big, it's broad, it's a widening, it's a deepening. And that is precisely what we're here to do is like deepen ourselves through this experience.
And how much does
Okay.
that deepen the everything when we do that?
So we are a part of the everything. You are a drop in the ocean. So when you deepen, the ocean deepens.
There again. Beautiful. Yeah.
And then, so just a quick comment to your, I don't want to get away from that because that's a beautiful comment, but to your house moving comment, actually, it's not a moving of the house to the real you. It's only a moving of the house to the ego because the ego says, "Oh, I want a new structure, please. I've thrown away the old one, and now everything's a big mess. So can I come make a new one now, please, with new ideas?" That's okay, if you want to do that. You can upgrade, you can move from one house to
But
another on
you're
your
still
on your
bringing all
journey.
your stuff with you. I think that's the part I was
Uh-huh.
trying to get at. When you move, it might be a different location and a different outlook, but you're still integrating your whole life that you had before that move with you. You're still bringing it all with you.
It's still you. Yeah, you bring you with you. That's actually a really good way to, by the way, to summarize karma. You bring you with you. Like you are who you are. You can move into a new house. You can go to a different lifetime, actually. You can have a new body. It's not really that big of a deal. It's still you. So so your stuff, you are basically you are who you are, and so you get the opportunity to face the parts of yourself that might not be fully integrated. That karma is not a punishment system, it's an opportunity system.
There it is. Yeah, exactly. That's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love the word integration because it's like all the time. It's integrating what
Hmm.
we already knew, what we've already had, even all our fears,
Hmm.
bringing it with us and saying, all right, this is what I know about it now. What else can I do?
Amen.
There it is.
And
What?
and one other comment, that integration, yeah, I also think that's one of the most important words we could lift up for what the human experience is. The integration of experiences. What we're doing is integrating. Integrating means different levels of integration automatically. It means intellectual integration, understanding, but it also means all the other levels, biological integration. Like, how do you work with the body and then the body reflects what you are doing in yourself? Like, it's all like the body is like a soundboard that's helping you work through this crap. Like, it offers the chance even to experience pain if it might be helpful, even. And then there's the integration at the deeper level, which is like, who are you really? Like after you, like, let's say you've, like, sometimes someone might come to you and say, "Oh, I'm having this experience." You're like, "Man, I've been there, done that." That is a reflection of integration. That I've been there, done that thing is like, you know what I mean? Like, if you really know, if you've been there and you've done it and you really know it, that is a type of integration. And it's like when we get to the other side, we can say, "Oh, I was human, man. Like I've been there, done that. Like I really experienced that. I experienced linear time. I experienced discrete location. I experienced limitations, all the society that we built and all of its implications and all of its systems. I experienced that." You know, that's amazing because then we get to integrate that into what we really are and take it with us. You see, we get to keep that. We get to keep the integration. We might drop form, a given body may die. Not really a big deal.
No.
Yeah.
And then once that drop goes back into the ocean, the entire ocean has that to draw on.
Hmm.
I mean, if we're recognizing that we're always connected to that and we are that, then part
Hmm.
of the practice then is recognizing our intuition and the flow of that information at any given moment and that
Amen.
awareness. You and some of the awareness you put in a blog. Do you still write that?
So I have not added to the blog in words because originally the blog, I even knew when I started it, it would become a book. And so the blog posts are part two of a four-part book that ties everything together. And the book is called A Walk in the Physical. And the book is available for free on my website. It's not about money. I just want to share the information. But that's been out for about 3 years now, almost. And it's been very well received, and I'm amazed. I just like felt this deep calling, like this has to be physical. Like I really, really felt this bone level, deep, deep calling. Like this has got to be physical. And it took me about 6 years because I received intuitive chunks It wasn't just me. It was like spirit was like giving me chunks, giving me chunks. And then it was done after 6 years. Yeah, so that is what the blog ended up becoming. The blog site is still there. It's a walkinthephysical.com. And now I usually post talks that I've participated in. I do about one or so podcasts a week or something.
I'm gonna, if you're comfortable, I'm gonna open up now if anybody has anything they'd like to ask or say at this point. Pat?
Yes. Hi, Christian.
Hi, Pat.
First of all, I have your book in hard copy, and I find it fascinating. It's one of those that it's almost like a daily read. You just read. I have to just read one page or
Yeah.
one thing, and then let that kind of integrate, using that word that you've just been talking so eloquently about. Um, the your whole story has just captivated me. And so the question I guess that I have is, and I don't even know how to put it into words. I hear you talking about living in this physical realm that we're living in.
Mhm.
And it's like a movie or it's like a play. It's
Mhm.
it's not the real. It's
Mhm.
not the real thing. And I agree with that. I guess what I get so my question is, um how do we help people move out of that fear of it? Because I think that's part of what your work has really helped me with, is to recognize that the things that of this world are just here, and I
Mhm.
don't have to be so caught up in them,
Mhm.
because this isn't it.
Right.
So I don't so and so how do we get that message across to other people so they can live in a more joyous, free way?
Mhm.
And maybe that's
Yeah.
too broad
No,
of a
that's
question.
no, no, no. That's a great question. So first of all, practically speaking, that there will be a unique answer for each person because each person's way of interacting with reality is unique. So, it's really difficult to answer that categorically, being that each person is at their own place. They're their own being, they have their own experience, their relationship with their life and their story is unique. But I'll just mention one thing. So the first thing we can do, I feel like there's two layers. The first thing we can do is communicate it either in words or in action. So be present with them because even presence alone or a word, a message can help communicate to them, whether intellectually or energetically, that you are there and you're connecting with them. So they recognize that on the physical level. But then, secondly, more importantly, then, is that hopefully the individual who is interested will take the second step and go investigate themselves. You see, because we can't hand it to someone else. That's
Mhm.
not the nature of this. It's not something someone can hand to you. It can't be written in a book, but the individual can go investigate their own consciousness itself underneath thought. Go find out. And that was like the most important thing Tom Campbell said to me originally was don't believe me, go investigate, go find out, be a scientist, go figure it out.
Mm.
And that may seem very like neutral and dry on the surface, but what happens is if we commit the time and we're open and we're intuitively ready and we take that taking time is so important because we're in the physical, so we experience reality as linear time. So to us, we need to actualize our intention by taking 40 minutes or 60 minutes a day for 6 months or something and meditating, going and finding that space and first focusing on something neutral, and then eventually once the thought momentum has slowed, dropping that neutral focus eventually and experience just putting our attention on what is awareness itself. Now, the reason I say that is because this can be experienced. Like this doesn't have to just be a message. To your original question, how do we help people find their way out of the fear of the illusion? Go find out it's an illusion. Like, go feel. Because even if it's only a small glimmer, you might meditate for 4 months, have nothing, like experience nothing, quote unquote. I put that in big air quotes because it's not like that. But anyway, let's say you think you experience nothing. And after 4 months, you might just have this moment when this peace rises up and touches you. And then the ego is like, oh my gosh, that was so good. What was that? I got to go get that. I got to go grab that. But like just experiencing that firsthand, it's real. And when the individual experiences that, then it might compel them to keep going. Like if people are ready, typically the higher self, our higher portion of ourselves will work with us to encourage and facilitate that growth and that finding of the truth. Like if we're really deeply focused in the illusion and we want to stay there, well, someone else telling you is not really going to do much anyway. So if they're not ready, that's fine. If they don't pick up what you put down, that's totally fine. We're not selling anything. but to the individual who has that glimmer and they're like, something's not quite right. And then you put down this thing, this idea or this recommendation, and then they might pick it up and go look. And then as they do, through that, ultimately they will find there is nothing actually to fear. Now, I know that feels like a huge step. It may practically feel like a huge step, but I don't want to make it sound like a huge step because the distance between the form association and the knowing of one's being is actually a very small step because we are already the consciousness right now. Well, like we can walk off that edge any second and the peace and the bliss of being is there. And when we feel that, we see, oh, there's nothing to be afraid of. We just took this play really seriously. I actually just received a voicemail from a good friend of mine in the UK. He's a non-duality teacher named Paul Dobson. He sent me a voicemail message yesterday for an experience he had yesterday where he experienced home yesterday, like just yesterday. And he left me this beautiful, eloquent, very articulate, flowery, I don't know what right word, very, I don't know, eloquent's the best word I can think of, but impassioned message about what he experienced. And that was one of the things he said was like, there's a party going on all the time. And it's like, we've just forgot. We're like outside doing this thing because we're so focused into this denseness and they're aware of it there. They're aware that that's happening, but the party's always going and we're always actually already there, and I agree 100% with that. We're already there. So how do you get so to your original question, how do we help someone find the party's already real? And the serious play, it doesn't need to be taken so seriously. I feel it's a matter of helping them find that themselves in whatever way we can. And for someone who's not ready to actually go do like the activities, just loving them, just be the presence. Like they'll feel it even if they can't, even if they don't understand it. Just smile. Just, water the plant. Like whatever it is, like that, like when you bring loving intention into the physical, it does have a vibrational effect that others feel, whether or not they can consciously identify it. And so that's another way of reminding them of who they really are. Basically, when we choose love and authenticity and joy and freedom in our lives, that does facilitate the awakening of others around us and of even beings around us. We don't have to limit it even to humans. Yeah, I hope that speaks to your question.
Yeah, thank you. That very helpful.
Thank you. Sorry if that was too long.
Oh, no, it's perfect. So, but what I'm hearing is that in the finding of yourself and the expression of your own unique talent, right? And if we allow that expression of our own uniqueness and our own talent without outsourcing that and feeling that from within without, then the fear will automatically displace itself because you are in your authenticity with shining your own talent. And everybody, I like what you said about the individuality, because absolutely everybody has their own talent, their own expression,
Yes.
And how many of us are like not doing our talent because we think we have to do the job or the whatever in order to be a real person?
Right. Yeah, when you align with authenticity, you're aligning with your power. Because our true nature, so when you're authentic, you are aligning with your true nature. whatever it is. Like being authentic means you can be exactly you, like however you are. It doesn't matter if you're sick or wounded or damaged or in pain or joyful or what you can be that.
Or whatever it
And
is
that
you are.
and then in that condition, when we align with like make the authentic choice of self-representation, absolutely, that's so powerful because we are resonating. It's like taking a vibrational step into power. And then when we do that, that absolutely does affect the world. It does affect those around us, not just in how we physically interact with them, but vibrationally. Like the physical is like the last step in the manifestation. It's the end. But there's steps before it that are very much energetic and vibrational in spirit that are real. And when we make changes vibrationally, we are affecting those preceding layers, and that does have an effect and it does help the world. So absolutely.
Does anybody else have something they'd like to say or ask Christian? Okay.
I wanna ask again another
Sure.
question, if that's okay. I've got his attention, so I've got him. So Christian, what do you what's your uh thoughts going forward in terms of um not only for yourself but for civilization and us? Do you have any sense of shifts that are going to happen that are going to really make a difference in how we are showing up in the world, I guess is what I want to say.
Mm-hmm. So right now we are living through a period that we crudely call the awakening, which is just the era of the play that the human race and the earth are going through right now. And that just means we're really doing a very bold, I'll call it an experiment, actually. It's not certain. The outcome is not certain, but the odds are very much in our favor because we have a lot of help to process all the old fear garbage that we've been perpetuating for thousands of years. And in so doing, raise our vibration, allow more love to flow through here. And as we do, like it's a accelerating process. The more we process the crap, the more love can come in. And the more love that comes in, the more empowered we are to process the remaining crap. And that is happening in consciousness space. Now, the human ego might not be super excited about the speed or something, the rate of progress. One human lifetime is a very short amount of time. It's okay if it takes years to do that. But the rate that we are doing it is actually really high. The energetic environment now is completely different than, say, 25 years ago. Like, oh my gosh, it's like an energetically, like a new planet almost. It's so energetically different. But that being said, the basement has a lot of crap in it. Like, I'm not making light of the amount of density and fear-based gunk that we've got stored away in the basement, So we are trying something very daring. The awakening is it's a very deep, rigorous process of healing and integration that the whole race is attempting to do, and it could potentially mean a lot of friction. So yeah, but it's good though. It's a good news. It's a good process, and we don't have to really fear about failing because, like, I think the human part of us says, "Oh man, I really, really want to see this really good result on the surface. I really want to see the product." But keep in mind, I think it's helpful to keep in mind that our true nature is what's growing. Like we're evolving, and that evolution can't be lost, actually. So even if certain physical outcomes happen, that which is real is expanding and is growing, and we get to retain that. Like, I know that we don't want to hear this, but it actually wouldn't be the end of the world if it was the end of the world. Like, like if the Earth somehow failed, that wouldn't really be that big of a deal in the big picture. It would be an impressive experiment that failed. I don't think that's going to happen, though. I think energetically there have been we have so much help, and there's been a lot of huge successes, and I think that the very likely outcome is that within, I'll say, a few hundred years, the earth will look very, very different in how much love and joy and actualized authentic nature is here being expressed. Maybe much less.
Thank you. So, kind of going forward with some of the things that you've just said, do you get communication from the other side, from there's no other side, but from
Yeah.
from what's around that is
Sometimes.
so do you have
We all do.
communication
Yeah, we all
two-way?
have that. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. And no one is not like it's not that someone is special just because they're receiving information from the larger database and consciousness. It's just that when we're focused into the veiled experience, it seems uncommon. But there are many, 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 many awakened people who commonly experience I mean, we all experience an interactions with the non-physical. We just may not recognize it for what it is, and it might from the human personality level, like if the human personality is really deeply engaged into form, it might seem invisible to the human portion of the self. But the deeper portions of the self are always connected, and we're always interacting all the time. Like I have become aware during, like sometimes when my body is sleeping, I'll become aware that I'm having a non-physical interaction with somebody that I know who's alive. And once I have that level of awareness at the human level, I'm like, oh wow, we're interacting. And I usually try to do something with it. But in the meantime, I'm just saying we're always like affecting each other all the time, even if we can't see it. So yes, I mean, I feel like we all receive that guidance. The question is just how much of our personality is in the way. And
Mhm.
sometimes I very much have my human personality in the way. Like if I focus on work all week and don't meditate, pretty soon I'm pretty focused back into, oh, these really important thoughts.
Mhm.
They're actually not that important.
Mhm.
And it's like once I can like drop them all again, I find that that spaciousness has grown. There's a sensitivity. I'll at least say I have a sensitivity that's grown. Like I have physical sensitivities that I knew would be like a cost. But my energetic awareness has increased and personally, and I feel like it's a common sense for me now.
It's all about awareness, right? It's an awareness
Mhm.
practice. So,
Right.
the more that we're aware of just our everyday lives, the more we can translate the non-physical life. If we're not practicing awareness every day, there's no way we're going to recognize any kind of non-physical awareness.
Yes, it's a shift in consciousness. And like and I love that you lifted that up, Jen, because we tend to just draw a distinction between the physical and the non-physical. When you're in a non-physical reality, it is so darn real and physical, actually feeling. Like we tend to draw a distinction, but it's all form. And so the question is, what is our relationship with form? Like how alert are we?
And how much are we allowing ourselves to actually pay attention to what our body's even telling us or saying to us, or translating those signals, and to know that the way we translate that non-physical might not be totally exact for what's going on because of wherever we are at and healing and awareness.
Mhm. Yeah, we have to be willing to listen. And when we choose to be willing to listen, we get more. Like if we choose to act on our authenticity, act on our excitement is a way I've heard it put many times. Or if we choose to listen to that intuitive nudge from the body, like maybe your body is saying, you know what, chips, they're just not working out for you. You don't feel good after you eat chips. Well, do you listen and stop eating the chips or not? I'm being silly, but it really is like that. Like, do we
Not
make the
silly.
choice? Do we like make the choice to actually listen to our intuition or not? And when we do, we get more.
Yeah, and our body will tell us emotional things and spiritual things and
Very much.
all the things. Yeah.
And the key to that is meditation on a regular basis.
Yeah, and things like, for me it'd be things like true awareness practice, like asking yourself questions. Where am I at? What do I really feel about these things? When I go out for a walk, what am I being drawn to? What do I feel like I'm communing with in the moment? And then take that, just allowing yourself to be super aware. I know I have a practice that every once in a while I'll go through all my senses. So
Mm.
not too long ago, I played with my vision again, just to be super aware of my vision, and realized there's like so many fire hydrants between this spot and that spot to my house that I never even paid attention to before. So it's like when we, it's like, well, allowing myself to be super aware of that, then that translates for everything, every way that my body's processing information.
That's a beautiful comment. Mindfulness in the physical equates to mindfulness in total.
Yeah, you can't really dump your humanity for your spirituality or vice versa.
It's all spiritual. Everything is spiritual. It's all occurring in spirit and of spirit. That, like, the dichotomy itself is incorrect. Seriously, like the dichotomy of the spiritual versus physical is already a misunderstanding.
You're 100% everything.
Yes.
There it is. So, what kind of, I don't know if advice is the right word, guidance, thoughts would you have for just, because we're using a certain vocabulary here, right? What about people of other vocabularies, other spiritual backgrounds? What's a way to like embrace and discover the truth and move forward? Because I think the reason I ask, because I really think there's a way to grow up in whatever tradition you already have, and then if you choose to move beyond that, go ahead. But sometimes I hear, oh, in order for me to be this enlightened awareness, I need to, just ditch when I haven't healed and grown up where I even know what's going on yet.
So absolutely. No, you're very much, that's very important. So, okay. So like this is another area where each individual has their own walk. So each individual's relationship with their form set or their tradition or their practice is unique. So let's put it this way, like the divine transcends all form. So if there is a set of form through which you successfully pursue it, that's great. If that's a religious tradition of Christianity or Buddhism or Hinduism, whatever, then that's excellent. That works for you. And you can work with those forms. I think that is one of the things I'm really passionate about is trying to bridge the gap between the non-duality teachings and the great traditions. Because the traditions of form, I'll call them that, the human traditions, they have great usefulness and power. It has to do with the quality of the intention we bring into them. You see, it's the form itself is not the active ingredient. The active ingredient is spirit. Spirit works through form, including your spirit. So then how do you use form? And it's totally good if we use form. We are experiencing form right now. Like for instance, just a real simple example that comes to mind. If I meditate, I will often set a timer for myself and give myself complete permission that while that timer is going, I will focus on the neutral object or just my awareness and return my attention to drop the thoughts. I don't need a timer, but to physicalize it helps me to give myself that permission slip. I don't need a permission slip. We are consciousness. We don't need it. But it does help because as conscious beings, it can be useful to have a physical permission slip or form through which we pursue our spiritual walk.
Anybody else have any thoughts on that?
It's one of the great beauties of unity, actually, the Unity Church. In fact, the first time I went to Unity in Edinburgh, where I have now had the honor of speaking and participating in many times, the first time I went there, the first thing that you said, Jen, was, we know that we don't have the answers, but we're happy to help you work through your own walk. And at that point, I was going through my deconstruction. And it really spoke to me. And I was like, oh my gosh, a place that knows they don't have the answers. That's wow, that's really awesome. But yet there was the love. The love was there. That is the real thing. The love and the community and the sharing and the compassion. And it's not about scope and size, it's about that quality. That's beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that's that's a huge passion of mine, to let people be wherever they're at and not suppose that I have any idea on what their journey
Amen.
through anything needs to look like.
Amen. Yeah.
And at our little place, we have people that are really into Buddhism. We have one lady that sings in a Christian choir on another church on Wednesdays. We have people that don't affiliate with anything but show up to be with each other.
Yeah. That's fine.
That's always been a source of pride. So
I actually attend a Presbyterian church regularly. I belong to a Presbyterian church. I mean, I know that we transcend the form, but the people there are beautiful, and they're utilizing the form as a form through which to express love.
and
That's
sometimes,
beautiful. That's why I go. It's beautiful.
yeah, sometimes we need the ritual, right? Whatever that ritual is.
Yeah, it can help for sure.
Does anybody have anything they'd like to ask? I'll pause again because I could just talk forever, so I want to make sure you give a chance. All right. No, I know you haven't been there for a little bit. When you come back, we've
Yeah.
the part where everybody shares, where they share what they want or just share about their life, or funny, sad, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Started using candles to light when they come up. And you believe how many people now want to express because there's a candle burning from their expression for the whole rest of the hour. There was something about just adding that action more than just saying, okay, now everybody share, that has just solidified that as a sacred moment of sharing. And now the sharing has been deeper and more true to what they're going through or not going through. Or sometimes it's just people are bringing in their poetry and books they've written and sharing pieces of that and music. And it's all because we added this extra step of the touch,
Yeah.
the lighting of a candle. So yeah, it's like however that works to engage,
Yeah. You know what that reminds me of, actually? This may sound unrelated, but I feel it's very interestingly similar. The Law of One book series, which was a channeling of the being Ra, that's what they claim. In that channeling series, the woman who channeled Ra, it was a very rigorous process for her because the amount of energy that went through her as she channeled. And in fact, I think she said she lost like 8 pounds after every session or something. It was crazy. But what I was going to say is that there was a group of 3 individuals who facilitated the raw channeling. One woman was the channel, and the other 2 were helpers, assistants. And they had a ritual they went through where they lit candles and they placed certain objects in the room around her. And oftentimes, Ra would begin the channeling by saying, "Move this object to this place," or "change this configuration of this item." Even though later in the books he talks about how that's not really the active ingredient. It's not the physical item. But what was happening was it allowed for a shift in their consciousness. You see, it allowed a shift in their quality of presence because of what the symbols meant to them and how they used the symbols.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's how we connect with anything, right?
Yeah.
So if we connect really well to whatever tradition we're doing, or we add to it, or even how we connect or not connect to our family traditions or work structure, or the way we have
Definitely.
things placed in our house. That's an interesting one, because for years I tried really, really hard to be the house, and have a house. And I ditched it a couple of years ago. And now there's like tapestries and bookshelves and just, but it's so much more comfortable for me,
Great. Yeah. Our house is a little like that. Yeah. We're very comfortable, but not the cleanest you've ever seen, but very full of creative items and just fun, things everywhere.
Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Anyway, Pat, you're muted.
Christian, what do you envision going forward for yourself in terms of the work that you're doing?
Mhm. So, my intention is to give, okay, so right now I work a mainstream full-time job to support my family. I take that responsibility seriously and I'm trying to do the right thing. But in the long run, I seek to create more space for myself to serve more in this way, the way of sharing. I don't know what form that will take. It doesn't need to be big or small. I do feel really called to do it, so I'm just gonna follow the calling and see what happens. Like, I feel like I've always discovered that when I just kind of give up on any idea of outcome, I mean, not that I've ever really been strongly tied to a specific outcome, but when I really just trust and go in the direction that I feel my joy is leading or that spirit is leading, beautiful, magical things happen. So that's all I'm going to try to do. I don't have any idea about what might happen. That whatever happens, happens. It's okay. Yeah. But I do hope to serve more. I mean, that is something I'm working towards. Um, I'm I'm definitely I mean, I'm committed to this path now.
Mm.
Yeah.
I,
And
I,
it's
I was
beautiful. It's a
hoping.
beautiful path. I experience so much joy. I cannot tell you how many blessings I have personally experienced as a result of doing this kind of sharing work.
Mm,
I mean, it's beautiful. I have met so many absolutely beautiful people. And I've met about 50 or other pre-birth experiencers too. So I know I'm not alone. And I get to connect with what I would call soul tribe members, people that I know that I'm very resonant with. I may never physically meet them, but because of my energetic sensitivity, I can tell, like I know who my beings are.
mm,
They might be old or young, male or female, or anything in between. It doesn't matter. Like those connections are so beautiful, and that's been such a blessing for me. And like last year, I got to speak at the IANS National Conference. That was
mm.
absolutely beautiful. 1,000 people there with like 600 or 700 of them have died and seen the other side and come back. The amount of love was just amazing, like so amazing. So we're going to Phoenix at the end of August to do that this year. And it's just beautiful. It's wonderful. Like I don't try to like label it as anything specific. I just know, oh my gosh, like life can be magical. I mean, sure, there's still challenges, of course, but man, life can be magical if we just and it's funny because I work for a company that's pretty bureaucratic and conventional, and I don't fit with fakeness. So I'm just my authentic self as much as I can be. And if I don't know where that'll lead, but I've just chosen to be that no matter what. Like I'm just gonna do it. Like what am I afraid of? Like
Mm.
if I get fired, that's fine. Like you know what I mean? Like I'll figure something else out. I'm not afraid of being myself. And it's interesting because we become free. Like when we're no longer afraid of how we're judged or what the outcome's going to be, and we can just be ourselves, we become unshackled. Like we didn't even know we were shackled by convention and by expectation. Like it's not cool. And so eventually, like I seek to even more fully actualize that in whatever form that might take, personally. Yeah. I don't claim to be anything, but I'm just saying when there's love, love will erode the crap eventually because we are love. Like it will. Eventually, if we choose love and joy, our own seriousness, our own fear, eventually we will face it.
That takes me to your pre-life plan.
Hmm.
Um, and I know I don't know what time we have here, but I'll just pose this one more question and then
Is that okay,
I'll
Jen?
stop.
Yeah.
But
Okay, just making sure.
is in that pre-life plan, the 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 part that was so amazing to me when I watched your introductory, I think it's like 25 minutes or 30-minute introductory that I got early on about you.
Hmm.
When you talk about the fear,
Hmm.
and when you aborted in the first time because of
Yes.
the fear was so strong
Hmm.
that you couldn't do it,
Hmm.
um that whole concept of the fear has always been that's what's kept me connected to you, because you've learned to transcend that fear, and but you came in with it, Is that correct?
Yes. Fear is not a thing that we come in with technically. I just want to lift that up. It's actually
Okay.
it just means unevolvedness. That's all it means. Like
Unevolvedness. Okay.
I just mean it's neutral. It just means there's something we haven't processed yet. And the level of limitation that both that immediately preceding life and this life offered was extreme. It is extreme.
Okay.
So it immediately provoked fear. And then the previous experience, I was like, nope, I'm not doing this. And I rejected the life. And
Hmm.
I caused a miscarriage. But that is the same fear that I'm processing in this life. I don't know, like the words transcend fear. I mean, that's okay. It's more like, can we actually feel our deepest stuff?
Hmm.
Can we not reject? Like I mean, it might sound oversimplified. That's not a simple process.
Hmm.
Like not rejecting reality is not simple when we have fear.
Hmm.
I mean, it's the hardest thing. It's actually the only hard thing. Like in the higher states, there isn't really like there's no physical challenge to overcome. The only thing we're doing is overcoming is the wrong word. We've created a space in ourselves that we're not. We've created something that we're not, limitation.
Hmm.
And through that processing of what we're not, we expand.
Hmm.
We become more. And so the only thing that we are working through is our own unevolved, our own I don't know, yet unintegratedness with that limitation.
Hmm.
That's the only thing we really strive against, so to speak. But we don't actually have to strive against it, you see, because fear really only rises up when we buy into a perception that's not the truth.
Right.
That's the only way that fear can happen. Like this message I got from my friend yesterday. Oh my gosh. He was just going on and on about how we can't be afraid when we know our true selves.
Hmm. Hmm.
It was this, he said from Holmes' perspective, it was the silliest idea in the world that we could be afraid. Like
Hmm.
it would be like inviting a pink elephant into your car. Like it's just the silliest, like, how could you even be afraid? But of course, down here,
Hmm.
we do commonly experience fear because it's all about association into the form. You see,
Hmm.
consciousness it seems to lose itself, it doesn't actually lose itself, seems to lose itself into association with, identification with that which it's not, with the small story, with the negative self-perceptions, with the pain. And then when we lose ourselves in it, that's only in that can fear arise because now you know what I mean? Like now we changed what we are or something. No, once we accept it, it's like looking under the bed and finding there's no monster under there. Looking in the dark closet is the analogy I always use. When my father was a boy, he was afraid of the closet in his bedroom. It's a true story. And every night he'd go to sleep and he was afraid of his closet. And one night he ran into that closet and sat on the floor and he was like ready to be eaten by the monsters. He's like, all right, eat me. I'm ready. Just eat me up. Like I'm done. I'm sick of being afraid. Go ahead and gobble me up.
Hmm.
My father is not afraid of closets anymore.
Hmm.
Like it sounds so silly, but our fears are like that. They may be bigger,
Yeah.
you know, practically speaking. We are really afraid of, I don't know, powerlessness or not being accepted or shame or being too small or being judged or, you know, whatever the root fear is. But when we really go into it, it's like looking into the closet and saying, all right, monsters, eat me. I'm not saying that's an easy process. It can be intense as heck. Shadow work is no joke.
Hmm.
But when we really do it, when we really switch our quality of intention to saying, yes, I will feel you. Like fear is like a messenger coming to our front door or knocking on the door. And it's like, I have something to tell you. And usually we're like, no, go away. I don't want to hear it. And we close the door and we're like, go away. I'm important. I'm gonna go over here and believe this thing, whatever we tell ourselves to just
Hmm.
make that fear go away. So it comes back and it wraps a little harder and it wraps a little harder. And eventually, when we let it in, what I'm talking about is not just saying, okay, fear, come in and tell me what you have to do, because I don't want to listen to you really, but I'll listen to what you have to say because I want to get rid of you. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about invite that guy in for lunch,
Hmm.
give him tea, and then listen and feel, what am I actually afraid of? And the fear will say, you believe that you are powerless. And then it's going to hurt because, oh my God, I really do believe that. Oh my gosh, it's horrifying. Feel it. It's okay. You're not powerless. You're deeper than that. Like the consciousness is deeper than the deepest fear. That is so important that we know. Like your aperture can expand to accept all your stuff by saying yes and by feeling it. Like feeling doesn't sound like a powerful action. It is a powerful action to feel something in the body.
Yeah.
Trauma processing is a process of feeling it in the body and allowing the body to process it through feeling it out. Yeah, I went down a really long tangent there. I'm sorry if I.
No, that's good. It was great. Thank you.
Sure.
Anybody else? Any last words, Christian?
So the two things. One, thank you for being human today. Wherever you are listening. I know it sounds silly, and I've said it before in other videos, but from the other side, we are seeing like superheroes who are willing to come down here and do this stuff and be on the frontier edge, the cutting edge of creation. So thank you for being here and doing the human thing and getting up in the morning and going through your day and making the choices that you make. It's beautiful. And the second thing is there is nothing to actually fear. Like all the fear is based in some kind of misunderstanding. And when we really entertain that thought, like just go entertain it. What if there really is nothing to be afraid of? Go play around with it. Go see. You'll find fear. If you're really ready, your fear will come up and it'll be scary as heck. That's okay. Like you're powerful enough to go look in that dark closet and process that. There's actually nothing to fear. Like that is so important here because we are dealing with such a staggering amount of limitation in the physical, a staggering amount of personal and collective limitation here in the physical simulation that fear can really be provoked. So when we know there's nothing to be afraid of, then we can actually fully engage even these great limitations and shine that native love and joy here automatically. We can just do it because that's our true nature. When we're not associated with something that we're not, when we put down the crap that we're not, then we can be who we really are, which is love and worthiness and joy. Like, do you know you're worthy? Like someone needs, like, you really are. Like not just worthy, but celebrated by the source of creation, you. I'm not kidding. Like it's earth-shatteringly powerful love that exists for you. Yeah, so that's the most important thing I could possibly say.
Thank you, Christian.
Yeah.
And a powerful note to say goodbye on. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your love.
Thank you.
And your wisdom today. And thank you all for being here for the live part. We'll get the video up real soon so you can share it with your peoples.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody.